The tilt is real. Tilt is real.
This is when the tilt is real.
Welcome to another episode of The Tilt is Real Fantasy Podcast. Coming to you live from the chef's table, here are your hosts, James Crease and Juan Pena.
Let's go.
Welcome in, Tilters. This is the Tilt is Real Fantasy Football Podcast, and I am your host, James Priest, the FF Chef, here with my co-host, as usual, Mr. FF, one of a kind. How you doing, big bro?
I'm doing fantastic, Chef. It's Monday. I'm not as happy as I am on Sunday, but we still have football today, so it's a great day.
Yes, and we have 2 more days of football today and tomorrow, thanks to COVID. Yeah. Oof.
I don't like thanking COVID. That feels a little wrong to thank COVID for anything. But yeah, due to COVID, yes, we get a bonus.
I don't want to thank COVID. You're right.
Yeah, right. No, I mean, we have to. I mean, like you're saying, like, thanks COVID. But yeah, we get a little bonus. We get a little break in there on Tuesday where we get another game. So fills in the week a little bit.
Yeah, I talk about filling in the week. Oh my goodness. And
it's a big matchup too, Chef. Like the Titans been waiting for a little while to play this game, and the Bills are like dying to prove it, kind of, to people that they're for real, and it's going to be a fun game to watch.
Yeah, holes on both sides. Could be something to watch. I think the Bills are going to do some really, really good stuff, and I think that Tennessee Titans on the other side of the ball have a lot of promise as well. But let's get right into some of the Sunday recap.
Yeah.
We had some great games, some great matchups.
Yeah.
And to start it all off, we go to Atlanta, where they were 0-4 at the beginning of this game. And the first time since 1997 that they start the season 0-5. They lose 23-16 to the Carolina Panthers.
And it was a big surprise, Chef. And in the pregame show yesterday on the Sunday Tilt, I just said there's no way that the Atlanta Falcons are going to go 0-5. They're just too good of a team, too good of an offense at home with Matt Ryan. Like, I figured they would find a way to win that game, and ultimately was dead wrong.
Hey, well, sometimes you got to watch the spreads. Just because the home team has the point advantage doesn't always mean that they're the better team. And in this game especially. Holes in the defense and Matt Ryan without his coveted Julio Jones, it just didn't work out for them.
Yeah, well, they ran into a bit of a buzzsaw because right now the Panthers are on fire. The Panthers are playing everybody pretty tight, and Teddy Bridgewater's playing lights out football right now. He's finding his receivers. Robbie Anderson's having a breakout year, and you saw DJ Moore come to life, and Mike Davis has been a revelation. And the defense, though young, is better than people give them credit. Look at this. They held Atlanta to 16 points. I know they didn't have Julio, but they held them down. Outside of Ridley, you didn't see them do much.
Yeah, no. Gurley had a decent game, and he finished second on the week so far, right behind the aforementioned Mike Davis, who's sitting at number 1 so far on the week. But yeah, they really couldn't get anything going, and it's a shame. And then we have the news that their head coach Dan Quinn gets fired, and along with the GM Thomas Dimitroff. So yeah, new wave coming in Atlanta.
Yeah, I expect Dirk Cutter to stay in charge and stay as the offensive coordinator and stay with Matt Ryan and ride out at least the rest of this season. It's going to be interesting to see how they pivot, if they can still win. I mean, 7 teams now get into the playoffs, so it's not crazy to think that they could make some kind of a run, but they're so depleted on defense that I think it's over, and ultimately you saw it cost Dan Quinn his job.
Right on. I get it.
I mean, good game. 2 teams pointing in the opposite directions. We love the stock up on Teddy B. And are we questioning now the stock on Matt Ryan? I've seen even on Twitter today people asking, is he droppable in redraft? And I'm not sure I'm there yet, but I can understand why you might want to pivot to one of these guys with a hot hand like Teddy B.
Well, I mean, Matt Ryan, we've seen him do some amazing stuff in the past, but if he keeps this up, I mean, you see 2 bad weeks already with just bad offensive production. I mean, how much more can you take? At least they do have a good matchup in week 6 going up against the Minnesota Vikings, and we saw what Russ did against them. If they can get Julio Jones back, I think they could resurge under new management.
See, I like that idea. I think I hold to, especially with Cutter staying there with continuity, like in the offense. I think he's still going to have a chance to be a top 10 quarterback.
Right. And with Teddy Bridgewater, next week he plays Chicago, so anything could change in that. And then, they see New Orleans in week 7. But I like a couple games on the Panthers slate. So if you picked up Teddy Bridgewater as a streamable option, you may want to hold on to him, especially now, or try to trade him away for some higher value.
They're clicking right now, and their receivers are turning underneath stuff into big work, and he's throwing it to Mike Davis. When McCaffrey comes back, he's going to be able to keep doing the same thing. And I think that offense as a whole is kind of, you're finally starting to see the Joe Brady come out of that offense a little bit. What we were expecting from week 1 is starting to kind of come to fruition now. So arrow up for sure on Panthers.
Yeah, definitely. And when Christian McCaffrey comes back, it's going to even get more accelerated than it already is. So just think about it. If Christian McCaffrey didn't get hurt, where they would be as far as in the rankings, I think they would probably be in the top 8 in the league, perhaps.
Offensively, for sure. For sure. He makes a difference. Like, I know, no disrespect to Mike Davis, who's doing all the work and handling the load. He's not Christian McCaffrey. And the explosiveness and the yards after carry are going to be completely different when he's back. But for right now, they're holding their own. And that's pretty much the takeaway from that game, Chef. I mean, interdivisional game, and it's a tough matchup. And even still, they played it down to the wire, and Carolina had to hold on. Even though they were in control of the game, they still had to hold on and only win by a touchdown.
You're right. One team that couldn't hold on to a 4-0 victory was the Kansas City Chiefs, losing against the Las Vegas Raiders. 40-32 was the final in this one. And man, was it a great offensive game or what?
It was. I mean, there were a couple plays where you can call it bad defense because guys were way too wide open, but it was an explosive offensive game. And you like to see this like out of Derek Carr. We've been waiting for a long time, and Ruggs finally got on the field and made an impact. And he was huge with that long touchdown catch. He only had 3 catches on the day, but he still had a monster day.
Yeah, I think they drafted Henry Ruggs for this in particular reason. They needed to have a field stretcher with excellent speed and to match up against a divisional rival in the Chiefs like Tyreek Hill. And yeah, I think they've worked out some magic between him and Derek Carr. And Derek Carr, man, he's starting to step up to the plate a little bit.
He is. He was toe-to-toe with Mahomes the entire game. And, you're still missing Edwards, and you still lost Tyrell at the beginning of the year. So, they're still working an uphill battle. But to go into Arrowhead and win for the first time against the Chiefs, that's a big accomplishment for Carr. And it could be like the confidence booster that he needs, to get going. And there's so much trust that goes into quarterback wide receiver play. So once he establishes that, like now with Ruggs, he's willing to throw it up to him a little bit. And now that expands that offense, like you said, and it's going to give room for everything else.
The one thing that I wish happened that really didn't was Clyde Edwards-Helaire, a little low on the fantasy production side, only scoring 11 points, 10 carries for 40 yards, and only 3 receptions on 8 targets for 40 yards. That's not what I expected coming out of this game when we saw Alvin Kamara go crazy against the Raiders a couple weeks ago.
Right. We were all looking for that game, a little bit more of that. And he had the opportunities with the 8 targets, but they just weren't in sync in that department. He did have one called back close to the goal line. It was a touchdown catch that would have boosted his points up a little bit higher. But I think the whole 10, what you said that was most important there, Chef, that you pointed out, is the 10 carries. He should have had somewhere near 20 carries. They gave up on the run way too early while they were either still in the lead or teetering with them. They were like, no, we're going to do the 4 touchdowns in a quarter that we did last year. We're going to redo that this year. And they didn't stick to the run. And that's like hubris on Andy Reid's part, like being a little bit too full of themselves and a little too cocky. And they underestimated the Raiders, and it came back to haunt them. Because they stuck to their game plan, the Raiders, you know what I mean? They ran the ball.
Well, one team that doesn't have much of a game plan is the New York Jets. And boy, can you say playing for last?
Yeah. I mean, what else are you playing for? You're tanking for Trevor at this point, right?
Yeah, I don't know if they're tanking for Trevor necessarily, but they're going to be tanking for a first-round draft at the top of the draft board if this stays the way it is. I haven't lost total faith in Sam Darnold. He flashed a little bit last week before the injury. But on the other side of the on the other side of things, we had Joe Flacco. He came in, stepped up, went 18 on 33 for a 195 and a touchdown. It's kind of what you expected from Jersey Joe, man. He's not the flashiest of QBs. He never has been. And
he was scrambling out there too. He had a little bit of a scamper at one point. I saw him get a first down with his legs. So we never see that.
And the one bright spot on the offense was Jameson Crowder. Tried and true, steady Mr. Crowder, 8 receptions on 10 targets for 116 yards and a touchdown. If he gets this every week, man, he has a solid floor from here on out, no matter how bad the Jets are. And he seems to be getting the targets early and often. In the games that he played so far this year, he's had double-digit targets in all 3 games.
Yeah, and he's finished inside the top 20. And you mentioned that yesterday during the Sunday tilt, that every time he does play, he ends up in the top 20, and he put up a monster week for sure. And I wasn't expecting that from him against the Cardinals. I didn't think he was going to have that kind of a game. But surprise, surprise, there he is. I think you can't deny him being a flex option every week from now on.
No, absolutely not. I'm on board with that take as well. And then on the Cardinals side of the ball, Kyler Murray, man, he made some rounds throwing for 380 yards and a touchdown. Not exactly all the production you wanted through the air. I would like to see more touchdowns as a quarterback from a quarterback perspective. But hey, they do it on the ground. They do it however they have to make sure that they win the game. And they're now 3-2, which is awesome, man.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a surprise. The Cardinals 3-2 right now, but for those touchdowns, Chef, that you're looking for, like that, until you see that, our prediction of him being a top 5 quarterback can't come true unless he increases the touchdowns a little bit. He doesn't have to compete with Russ or anybody up top, but he does have to get a little bit more touchdown production. And they tend to go to the run. And you saw your boy Chase Edmonds come alive in that aspect and help him get a rushing touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, he only went 3 for 36 on the ground, but he did get into the end zone.
Right.
The real thing about Chase Edmonds is the receiving production. 5 on 6 receptions for 56 yards, and he just continues to get the targets out of the backfield instead of Kenyon Drake, who we all thought would have all the targets. Kenyon Drake only went 1 for 1 for 2 yards, and luckily, Drake got bailed out this past week with a touchdown. Otherwise, his production is limited.
It is. He got 18 carries, but they don't look really like clean carries. It looks like a lot of him running into the back of the offensive lineman and 2 yards in a cloud of dust. When Edmonds gets in there and gets a carry, he makes it happen. Or when they switch up to Kyler and he takes a bootleg, he always seems to get 7, 8, 10 yards on one of those scrambles. So I don't know what's going on with Kenyon Drake, but it's not looking like it was last year.
And just a quick question. Do you think it's Kenyon Drake or do you think it's the offensive line?
I'm not sure, because the offensive line was supposed to be much improved. And then you see like DJ Humphries playing way better, and you think that they're going to be a better offensive line. And they look efficient when they do those design quarterback runs, or when Chase Edmonds comes in like a change of pace. And you saw them yesterday. He feels like he gets a gash every time. So I'm not sure if it's Drake slowed down just enough where he's not finding that hole at the end of the stretch zone, or if it's a case of the offensive line. I really can't tell yet, but I don't like what I'm seeing from Drake right now.
Yeah, I'm hesitant as well. I probably missed my window. Maybe not missed my window on that trade option. But Chase Edmonds, we told you 2 weeks in a row now to pick him up on the waiver wire heroes, and he is going to be a definite must add this week going forward, just because of the breakout game that he had this week in fantasy production.
And with all the bye weeks happening, Chef, he's one of those guys that might have his own standalone value no matter what. You have bye weeks next week where like Kamara's out, and if you had a couple of other injuries, now you need a running back, and he's a viable fill-in that can get you double-digit points, even if Drake gets the bulk of the carries because of that passing work.
Arizona tentatively, we'll say tentatively because the schedule will be changing without notice due to we'll just call it 2020. We won't say the C word due to the 2020 options that are going on. But they do see Dallas next week, and we saw Dallas just give up a lot of points. Devonta Freeman was actually someone to monitor, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But I just wanted to mention that going forward, that Chase Edmonds is definitely someone that you should be trying to acquire on the waiver wire.
100%.
The
And
next,
speaking of guys that are going to be on the wire, Chef, this next one has probably the number one guy that's going to break the waiver wire bank this week.
yeah, definitely. If he's still available, I guess in redraft, yeah, he's all over the place available.
Yeah, that's your man Chase Claypool.
Chase Claypool for the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers stay 4-0 against what now are the 1-3-1 Eagles. Eagles falling into, I believe, tied for third place. Can we say that? Or tied for second in the NFC least division.
They're actually in second alone because the football team is
right,
one
the tie.
And
the tie.
Mm-hmm.
The tie.
So weird, but yeah, they're in second place.
Yeah. I guess this was a mostly expected game, not from the Claypool side of things. We didn't expect Deontay Johnson to go out with a back injury in this game. And it's unfortunate too, because I know you personally were banking on Deontay Johnson to have a good comeback game, coming back from one injury and then entering into another. It's just sad, but it's nice to see Chase Claypool, I believe a third-round pick from the Pittsburgh Steelers that they were pretty high on, start to show off and really have a breakout week here in Week 5.
He found the hole, Chef, all over that defense, and he got 4 touchdowns, 3 of them through the air, 1 on the ground. And you saw them use him on jet sweeps and reverses, and I feel like he got the Deontay Johnson role. Like he got the looks that Deontay Johnson was going to get, and he thrived in it. So I don't know what they're going to do going forward, but the future looks bright for the Steelers pass catchers for sure, because James Washington's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you saw Ebron get targeted a little bit. The offense started to look like it's flowing a little bit better for the Steelers. And Big Ben didn't put up a lot of passing yards, but they didn't really need to. They were trying to control the clock and just win the game. And the Eagles showed fight. I got to give them that. I mean, they lost the game 38-29, but they showed fight.
Yeah, you mentioned Ebron, and he did have that fumble, which got the Eagles back into the game at the end, towards the end in the fourth quarter, and that was the turning point. I'm surprised that the Steelers were able to just keep putting up points after that. But yeah, what's his name? Travis Fulgham.
Travis Fulgham. Yeah, you got to know that name now. He'll be picked up a lot this week too, probably.
Yeah, I would say so. They have a tough matchup in Week 6. I believe they are playing the Baltimore Ravens.
That is a tough one.
Yeah, but not as tough as some would think with the Ravens receiving core. I mean, secondary kind of looking a little weak. But yeah, definitely Fulham looks like someone that you could pick up and take a shot on, as long as there's no word on Deshaun Jackson, Alshon Jeffrey, or Jalen Reagor coming back anytime soon. We don't know the news on Deshaun Jackson. He was taken out of this game. But, hey, that's how it goes, man. It's the NFL. It's next man up. One big disappointment was Zach Ertz, man. One reception on 6 targets for 6 yards. Like, that is just unacceptable. You drafted him probably as a top 4 tight end in the 2020 fantasy draft, and he's just not cracked up to what you expected him to be.
Yeah, and he's been struggling. I mean, listen, this is a really tough matchup, and I kind of want to be give him an excuse because of that matchup against Terrell Edmonds and Minka Fitzpatrick and Devin Bush. And we mentioned it yesterday, like that's going to be a tough one for him. So, and he stayed in to block a lot. You see, he only got the 6 targets. Like he wasn't really involved in the offense. We've seen him before get 10, 12, 15 targets, even with Goddard on the other side. So there's got to be something going on there where he's not getting the looks and he's not getting the love. But at this point, people are really questioning that. Like you said, Chef, you spent a bunch of draft capital on him. What do you do? Are you thinking about dropping him? Are you trading him? Like,
I mean, it'll be tough. It'll be tough sledding. I mean, eventually Dallas Goedert comes back, right? I think he's supposed to come back in like week 8. So it's not too far away. Richard Rodgers is, I don't know. Do you really have a lot of faith in this offense? If it seems like they're more of a fill-in flex play than starting roles outside of Miles Sanders.
That's what it feels like. So now if you've demoted Ertz to that level, like now what do you do? Like you're kind of stuck with him until he can maybe put up a good week and then you can move him, right? But that's definitely the move here that we're leaning towards away from Ertz.
Yeah, I mean, if you could find someone in your league that will take him on, like if someone's lost a tight end, I guess tight ends are it's just sad, like, because we mentioned that in our preseason shows. Say, hey, don't reach on a tight end, and Zach Ertz, man, he's not performing up to par at all this season.
Agreed.
All right, but moving right along, and we'll stay in the NFC least. The Washington football team gives up another one to the LA Rams, 30-10. The Rams stomped the Washington football team, and we had a couple of different quarterbacks in this one. Kyle Allen taking the reins over from Dwayne Haskins. Ron Rivera mentioned it earlier in the week before the game, obviously. And unfortunately, Kyle Allen took a heck of a hit from Jalen Ramsey that took him out of the game. And he did not return. We saw Alex Smith come in and really didn't do too much with the football, unfortunately.
It was an amazing moment to see him come back and to see him make that comeback from 17 surgeries, and the break that he had on his ankle was brutal. And for him and his family, it was nice to see the kids in the stands and for him to play. But I feared, like, I know I wasn't the only one, that every time I was cringing, waiting for him to get hit. And when Aaron Donald jumped on his back like a backpack and he fell there and collapsed to the ground, like, I was scared for him. And he bounced back up, and it's great to see him playing. But I don't know what that does for the future, Chef, going forward. Is it Kyle Allen going forward, or is he going to be full-time Alex Smith now?
I heard news this afternoon that it is Kyle Allen going forward, as long as he gets through protocol and everything like that. And I believe that he passed the concussion protocol in the stadium. They just, for precaution, they kept him out and let Alex Smith do the work. Fortunately, they were pretty much out of the game already, and I think they wanted to preserve him going forward. But yeah, man, a real stinker from the Washington football team. Nothing really to report on that side of the ball. Yeah, I mean, there's outside J.D. McKissick and Antonio Gibson scoring 10 points apiece. No one else hit double digits, and it's a real sad story. McLaurin only 3 for 7 for 26 yards, and that's a shame. But on the other side of the ball, we're starting to figure out our running back by committee, and it will be a problem always every week to see who is the hot hand. But Darrell Henderson, man, 15 carries, only 38 yards, but he gets in the end zone. He goes 3 for 30, and with another touchdown through the air, scoring 21.8 fantasy points for the week. And if you took that shot, if you had no other option and you stuck with Darrell Henderson, you were definitely rewarded this week.
Right. And at the last minute, Chef, after the show yesterday, I actually took him out of one of my lineups and put in Devonta Freeman because of the matchup against the Cowboys. And I didn't like the split going on here. And luckily he fell into the end zone. But I feel like that split, nine carries for Brown is 8 for Akers and 19 and 15 for him. Like, it's just, or the other way around with Brown, but it feels too much like the Ravens, where they're just going to give them 9-10 carries a piece each, like during the week. So going forward, I only want to trust. You know what I mean? Like, I want to trust the talent of Akers, I think, going forward is what I really want to do, even though the results have said Brown and Henderson so far.
Yeah, the results have said Henderson and Brown. You're right on that. But I read something late last night that McVay said he will be getting Akers more involved next week. I think yesterday was a stepping point for him with the 9 carries, and with only 9 carries and 61 yards on the ground. Obviously, he is the better rusher. And I think maybe you could see Henderson kind of going into like a 2019 Matt Breida role with Raheem Mostert Cam Akers, working between the tackles a little bit. He's very, very elusive. We saw that firsthand going up against a pretty stout Washington football defense. So, yeah, I think moving forward. Right. But I also read something today that I believe Stefania Bell retweeted it, that Akers said it hurt carrying that ball pinned up against his chest. So every time he got hit, it felt like he was getting a little stabbed. So that kudos to him, man, for getting 61 yards on 9 carries and toughening it out with the broken cartilage in his ribs.
It's a shame, man, because all three of them have their own value and they have to split that way. And you feel bad that you can't just pinpoint one of them and just tell people, go ahead and start this guy with confidence because of that whole committee thing. So, like, if they could make something work where the two of them could have success similar like to what they do with the receivers, that would be amazing because you saw both of their receivers have great games this week, or pretty good games at least this week.
Yeah, I mean, Robert Woods was the big surprise for me. I didn't expect him to get into the end zone or have 4 receptions for 71 yards, but I guess you can't really count them out. And the big surprise was Gerald Everett for 4 for 4 for 90 yards, and Higbee, he just disappeared. I guess they used him more on the pass protection side of things, and I think they're scheming it now to where teams watch Higbee go out and be the receiving tight end, and Gerald Everett was like an afterthought, and the Rams used that to their advantage. So look for them to be kind of hard to predict moving forward, especially when they're both very dangerous in the passing game.
Yeah, that's going to be a thing with Higbee, and we've seen it with the targets. We mentioned it yesterday, 4, 5, 2, and 4 in the first 4 weeks. So he's not really getting the involvement in the passing game, and maybe it's his plan, like you said, of McVay's and his genius of trying to contradict and use Everett and use Higbee as a decoy or leave him in to block. But, I mean, it's working for them, and they're winning football games, and at the end of the day, that's all McVay really cares about. He cares less about our fantasy teams.
That's right. Yeah, McVay doesn't care about our fantasy teams, that's
No.
for sure.
No.
And neither does Lamar Jackson, for that matter. And this brings us right into our next matchup. The Baltimore Ravens just take care of the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow, if you started him this week, I feel sorry for you. I hope you had another pivot. The Ravens win this game 27-3. The Ravens move on to become 4-1. But Lamar Jackson, 19 on 37 attempts, 180 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. And the big number that I want to list is 2 carries for 3 yards. What is going on with Lamar Jackson this year?
I think he's a little dinged up. I think that injury designation that he had might have been a little more serious than they said, and that you saw that there's no way he just gets 2 carries for 3 yards, and at no point does he really try to run because you didn't see him try to scramble too much or run. And the interception that he threw was to completely wide open linebacker. There was no one there, no one in the route, nobody around, and he just kind of lobbed a little softball 15
threw
yards,
a duck up there,
intercepted. Yeah, just kind of threw it to nowhere, to where maybe the guy was supposed to be, and there was a miscommunication. But they don't look in sync. And if ever there was a case for a team that's missing that one alpha receiver, because Hollywood Brown is a nice receiver, he's really good, but he would be better served at opposite a big time wide receiver, like a good, like Julio Jones from the trade market, coming over because they're failing. Corey Davis, you don't need him in Tennessee, we'll take him. Just a big body alpha number 1 type receiver to help be a blanket, like a security blanket for Lamar.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I think that would go a long way. But they didn't really need it this game.
That he has, the one security blanket that he has is Mark Andrews. He stays getting targets, 6 receptions on 9 targets for 56 yards and a touchdown. And he was the big fantasy. Him and Hollywood Brown were the big winners in this matchup. If you chose to play them like we told you to, they definitely did not disappoint. And even Joe Mixon on the other side of the ball, 24 carries. That's what I wanted to see out of Mixon. I thought they would take it out of his hands and put Giovanni Bernard more involved, but it was the way I wanted it to go as a Joe Mixon owner in some leagues. He had 8 targets for 35 yards. He caught 6 passes for 35 yards, and Bernard only 2 targets for 4 yards. So I think Mixon going forward doesn't even matter about the schedule. I think he's starting to fill in as the primary back, as like we hoped he would in the beginning of the season.
He had the usage. The coach stuck with him. He kept giving him the ball, even though they were playing from behind. And when they did go to the pass, they still went to him a lot. So that's what you love to see. Opportunity, Chef. We always preach it. If there's opportunity, then you have a chance for success.
100%. He will have a hard matchup next week up against the Indianapolis Colts. But I think he may be all right next week, and we'll get into that further in our weekly podcast, the Tilt is Real Fantasy Football podcast. We record every Wednesday evening around 6 p.m. For those of you that want to jump in and ask your tilts for week 6, we'll be here for you. Otherwise, if you'd like to listen to us on Thursday morning, it is released. You can find us everywhere at where you get your podcast. Let it be Anchor, Podbean,
Spotify,
Google Play, Spotify, Apple Podcast. We're everywhere you can find your favorite podcast source. We are there for you.
Indeed.
Okay. Yeah, we're rolling right along. Unless you have anything else on this Baltimore game.
Let's go to the other Cats.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I love my defense. Patrick Queen, man. Patrick Queen had a hell of a game. I mean, and not just the fumble recovery for the touchdown, the hit on the hit on Burrow, and he was just all over the field, sideline to sideline. And I love to see good linebacker play, and that was pretty awesome what he did.
Yeah, if you were smart enough to start the Baltimore Ravens defense, if you're still in leagues that play defenses, I know some of us are. And man, oh man, they would have won you the week. I believe overall they had. Let me see. I want to look it up real fast because it is pretty interesting. They were number 11 on the week in scoring, not in defense, as fantasy production with 26 points. So they had one of those weeks. I mean, they scored more points than Russell Wilson did last night. That's just it's crazy. It
Stellar.
Really is. But that's one heck of a stat.
Yeah, and Queen was a big part of that with that fumble recovery for a touchdown and all that. So yeah, kudos to them. They played a really good defensive game.
Yeah, congratulations to them. The Jaguars did not play such a good defensive game up against the Houston Texans.
They usually do.
Both teams now 1-4. The Texans finally get their win under new interim coach Romeo Crennel, and oldest coach. Texans, I didn't say. Yeah, oldest coach in the league right now.
In history.
Oh, in history.
Yeah, I think he was the second oldest coach.
He's been around forever.
Yeah, George Halas was the oldest, and he was the second oldest coach in the history of the NFL. Pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I guess he has been beats Coughlin out, huh? Coughlin was up there for a while too.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, they take the reins and they take the bull by the horns since they are the Texans. You know, they know their bull down there and their stake. Shout out to everybody in Texas.
Yes.
And they were happy with this outcome, 30-14. They absolutely just took over the game. Minshew did not really have an answer. You saw him throw almost 50 times, 31 completions on 49 attempts. He did break 300 yards and have 2 touchdowns, but he had a crucial fumble that changed the tide of the game, and they just seemed lost. Big miss on my part for tooting James Robinson. I thought he was going to have a great game, but 13 carries for 48 yards and a fumble, which hurts a lot.
Yeah, and we would have thought that would be a great play and a great start because the Houston defense has been giving up a lot of yards to the running back throughout the season, but James Robinson just couldn't get it going because they were playing from behind. And once they got behind, it was all dump offs. And Laviska Shenault had a great game. He had 7 catches for 79 yards. But it was a lot of that short to intermediate work that you need when you're playing from behind, and it's 3rd and long a lot,
Right. Absolutely.
So they found themselves, in 3rd and long situation. So the dump off is the only thing that works.
Yeah, the dump off worked, and it didn't work out too well for them. That's for sure. Big news out of this game: DJ Chark suffered an ankle injury, and he may have to miss some time. Who knows? We're still waiting on more of a response going forward. And we saw what happened to Minshew's production when DJ Chark went out in week 3. Now we're looking at the same thing going into week 6, which would have been a great matchup in Detroit. We hope DJ Chark is well and he gets back on the field soon, from all of us at the Tilt is Real Fantasy Football Podcast.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But in the meantime, Laviska Shenault, and I know he's one of your guys, Juan. He fills the void in the offensive receiving end with 7 receptions for 79 yards. Really good stuff there.
Yeah, you could see him going forward, getting the targets. He started the season with 4 targets in each of the first 2 games, 6 targets in the next 2 games, and then he had 8 targets, and caught 7 of them yesterday. So you see him progressing, and you see him coming to his own. And there's, 6'2", 220. Like, it's hard to find guys like that and built that way that can move around and get placed all over the field. And he's a matchup nightmare. And he was the little bit of a bright spot for them was that, and Colin Johnson, the receiver who filled in for Shark late in the game, being able to snag in a touchdown. And you like to see that from rookies.
Yeah, I love that. On the other side of the ball, and we'll jump back to the Texans real fast, I felt like I was in a time machine going back to when Brandon Cooks was actually healthy and on the field, and one of those deep threats, like when he played for New Orleans, and he would just light it up. He goes 8 receptions on 12 targets for 161 yards and 1 touchdown on the ground. He finishes as the wide receiver 3 on the week, but number 4 overall in fantasy thus far. Kudos to Brandon Cooks. Finally got the cobwebs out of his fragile body, which scares me going forward. You can never really guarantee that kind of fantasy production, but man, what a great outing for Brandon Cooks, someone that we really did not expect to have a great game.
Yeah, we were all calling Will Fuller's name yesterday. I know I was shouting it from the rooftops, and I thought it would be a huge Will Fuller game. But it just goes to show you that if you spread it out a little bit and let everyone kind of eat, any one guy can beat you. You've seen Cobb have great games out of the slot. You've seen Fuller have great games out of the one side, and now you see Brandon Cooks finally have his game. So they can kind of pick their poison and pick a defense apart if they spread it out and do things the right way. They stay committed to the run, too. David Johnson got a little bit of work on the ground, too, so that helps. He went 17 for 96. He almost broke 100 yards rushing. So when you stay committed to the run and he's moving the ball that way, the offense starts to be a little bit more fluid. And I know they're picking on the Jags, but it's still a good sign of life for the Texans going forward.
Yeah, I like the Jags moving forward a little bit. And I'm just peeking at their schedule here. They go up against Tennessee in week 6, Green Bay, and then we'll call it a tentative bye week in week 8. Thanks 2020. And I think moving forward, with the interim situation with Romeo Crennel, man, I think this is the boost that the Texans needed to get back on track. And hopefully they moving forward, they continue their success.
Yes, sir.
But speaking of success, on the next matchup, the Dolphins versus the 49ers, we did not expect this to happen. The Dolphins trample the 49ers 43-17. And Juan, you are our home-based Miami Dolphins fan, and I'm sure you were shouting from the rafters after what transpired in this matchup.
I was actually holding my breath until like the late in the third quarter. I'm not going to lie, because you just don't expect it, man. And you're like, at some point, this is going to go the wrong way. And at some point, Kittle's going to become Kittle, and Jerome Baker's not going to be able to stick him anymore, and it's going to get serious, and they're going to come back and win the game. Like, they're just playing around, right? And no, we kept our foot on our throat, and Fitzpatrick was Fitzmagic, and we got it done. And it's a big win to go out west and beat San Francisco at home, the 49ers at home. It's a huge win for our franchise.
Yeah, absolutely. And a couple of things that I want to point out is Myles Gaskin looked pretty good. He finished the day with 20.1 fantasy points, 16 carries for 57 yards and a touchdown. Caught all 5 of his receptions. And Matt Breida, what happened? First off, what happened to James Howard, or Jordan Howard rather?
He's the hammer now.
Game? Was he like a healthy scratch?
Yeah, I think he just wasn't used. They've only been using him in goal line situations and in short yardage, like strictly. He's not been brought in to do much of anything else. I don't know if he didn't pick up the pass protection, and he's never been really good as a pass catcher. We saw they tried to do that a little bit in Philly, and it didn't work out. So he's basically relegated to that role. That he's just that goal line hammer, and that's basically all they're going to use him for. But I like to see Breida. I like to see Breida getting involved, and maybe it was a little bit of a revenge thing because 9 carries, he doesn't usually get that many, and against the Niners, they try to feature him a little bit, kind of stick it to his old team. But
yeah, maybe it was kind of like a show off, like we got him from you.
a little bit, or let him try to exploit his old team and have his moment in the sun because we were up pretty big, and so it's surprising to everyone that we were up that big. Seriously, I don't know. That's probably a bigger upset than the Raiders, right?
Yeah.
I know it wasn't a bigger spread, but it's a bigger upset.
Yeah. The one bright side and the last thing I'll touch on for the Miami side of the ball was Preston Williams.
He showed out.
Finally healthy after a 2019 season that was missed due to injury. This guy has some crisp routes. And yeah, he only had 5 targets, but 4 receptions for 106 yards and a touchdown. Look for this to continue going forward, I believe. He's starting to get into a rhythm with Ryan Fitzpatrick. And if that continues and his target share starts to go up, look out, man. Preston Williams may be on the rise. And if you are in Dynasty and you can make a trade for him, do it. And if you're in redraft, he's probably sitting there on your waiver wire, just hanging out. So he may be a nice little chase on the waiver wire coming up this week.
Yeah, I definitely think he should make it on there, Chef. I picked him up last week just to make sure I had him going forward because I've seen a little bit of signs of life, and Fitzpatrick likes to throw it to him. When you're 6'4" and you can separate and you have good route running, you're eventually going to be a target that's a favorite of the quarterback. I know Devontae Parker's 6'3", so they can have both guys, and then you saw Gaskin get the one long play, so that also helps. Like when you have a tight end that's that's at least competent. So he's above that a little bit. So the offense is starting to come together, and our future is bright. And I know I'm a homer, but yeah, I love your take on Preston Williams, and I do think he has a bright future going forward.
Let's do this real fast. Let's have some fun because we like to have fun on the Tilt is Real. It's not all about the news and the notes.
I like it.
Let's bring up the waiver wire hero sheet real fast, and let's see who was on there this week. Let's see here. All right, so your boy LaVisca was on there. Jerry Jeudy was on there. Yep, Preston. I thought Preston Williams was on there, but apparently not. But we definitely hit on Teddy B.
We hit on Ruggs.
We definitely hit on Chase Edmonds and Henry Ruggs, and yeah, and Corey Davis was the COVID scratch,
right?
But yeah, man. So this is going to come out tomorrow for week 6, even though we still have a game to go tomorrow. I'll be researching this a little bit moving forward, and yeah, keep an eye out for the waiver wire hero sheet. Moving forward, it definitely seems to be working out well for those who follow it.
That team would have beat me if I had all those guys on my team. I would have lost in every league to that team.
You kidding me? If we would have played some of those guys on a DFS lineup, we would have been winning some money.
Cash money, dude. Yeah,
you got to start taking my own advice.
I know. That's it. Seriously.
All right, enough of the fun. Moving on to a sad note out of this game. Jimmy G taken out of this game. 7 for 17, only 77 yards and 2 interceptions. And then we see CJ Beathard come in, go 9 for 8 on 18 attempts for 94 yards and a touchdown. Not much better because he wound up fumbling as well.
Yeah, this game was over early, and the only bright spot for the 49ers this week was Raheem Mostert, 11 for 90. Like, you saw him have his explosiveness. He's healthy. He's back. It's sad to see Jimmy G not be able to come back because they need the help. That's why we were able to do what we were able to do. If they had their full roster, we wouldn't be able to torch them that way. That's not going to happen if they have all of their parts on defense. Unfortunately, right now they don't, and we were able to take advantage of it. But they need something, and Mostert to start, but they really need Jimmy G to come back soon so that offense can start gelling because Ayuk is showing promise and Debo showing promise. So going forward, like, you need something. They need a boost.
Do you think they rushed Jimmy G back too soon on this one and probably should have just left Beathard in there as the starter for this matchup from the start of the game?
Yeah, if they knew he couldn't plant and he couldn't put pressure on that leg and throw the way he wanted to throw or normally throws, and he was a little limited, then it was like hubris on their part for them to be like, oh, we're just going to stomp on the Dolphins, so it's okay. We're just going to run the ball, and you can just throw these little screen passes. No, when he had to actually start playing from behind and start throwing the ball a little bit deeper, he couldn't do it. He wasn't able to. They should have been able to see that leading up to the game, and you're right. Beathard looked great against the Eagles at the end of the game. So why not let Beathard play?
Yeah,
I think he should have started.
I think that's a bad hit on the coach right there.
Yeah,
that was a poor move by Shanahan.
Yeah, it's a rare miss move because he's usually on point. But I think that when you ride Beathard and let him play and bring Jimmy G along slowly, if you're bringing people back slowly, you might as well bring your quarterback along slow.
Right. All right. Moving right along to the dog pound. And
that was a really, really good defensive game, Chef. That was old dog pound type stuff there, though.
The Browns, man, 4-1. Can we say AFC North? The North remembers? We talked about all 4 of those teams that at the beginning of our season and our double division breakdowns, preseason rather, that the AFC North was nothing to clown around with this year, and it is starting to really come to fruition.
100%, Chef. And everybody plays defense in that division. And, the Bengals can give people problems, but a 4-1 Ravens team and a 4-1 Browns and a 4-0 Steelers team and the Ravens as well. So like these teams are juggernauts. These are the class of the class right now. And for the Browns to be able to keep up through this point, it has to have the fan base really excited and everybody. I believe in Stefanski. I think what he's doing offensively, the philosophy is working. I don't love it for Baker as a fantasy owner. And I don't love it for, any of the other pieces except for Kareem Hunt or Chubb or whoever's running the ball, because that's who's getting the work. Like that's who's getting the involvement. And that's who's benefiting from the whole Stefanski system.
Yeah, we saw Kareem Hunt do very, very well. 20 carries for 72 yards. Got into the end zone through the air for a touchdown pass. 3 for 21 yards through the air for that. Dearness Johnson, I warned you guys. If hopefully you guys listened to me, he was just a add-on piece for security. He was not going to be fantasy reliable in this game, especially against that Colts defense. And sure enough, he had carried the ball for 8 carries for 32 yards, and he had 1 reception. But yeah, not exactly what you wanted in a waiver wire pickup if you had to start him this week.
No, absolutely not. And that's what's more impressive, Chef, about the 20 carries for 70 yards for Kareem Hunt, that he did it against the Colts defense, like the number 1 defense in the league that's been stopping everyone. And it's supposed to be like this huge juggernaut. He was able to find some semblance of success. And the offense got moving to the point where they even got Hooper 5 catches for 57 yards. So that hasn't normally happened. So it was just a more like a fluid offense, and it's going to be touchdown dependent for maybe some of the pass catching options. But I think Kareem Hunt right now, his value is completely on the rise.
And yeah, so, I agree.
Chubb's not coming back.
I definitely agree with you there on the Kareem Hunt take, and I'll piggyback off of your Austin Hooper information. 10 targets for Austin Hooper with David Njoku in the game, so that is something promising looking forward with the Stefanski offense. If they are in play action, Hooper may be a sneaky add moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Play your matchups. At least keep him in that wheel of guys that you might want to, stream through. Make sure you don't forget about him, because he's one of these days he's gonna have that Austin Hooper game that we saw in Atlanta, and he's gonna have 2 or 3 touchdowns in one of these games. It just depends on the game script and which one it falls on. But if you play your cards right, you can end up streaming like a top 3 tight end week to week, and he could be involved in that.
Yeah, I think it works. I think it works out well. With Hooper, you could definitely a spot play, and if you played him over Higbee this week, you were rewarded.
Yeah,
but not the likely chance that you did. But hey, if you had to, you're definitely in there. All right, what else we got for this team? Phillip Rivers was Phillip Rivers. 2 interceptions on the day, 243 yards passing on 33 attempts, 21 completions. Not exactly what you want to see. And I think that it was more the Cleveland defense standing up to the Colts than it was the offensive reign over the Colts defense.
Yeah, I think they got 3 sacks, and Myles Garrett was involved heavily in that pass rush. And we knew going into the game without Costanzo, the left tackle for the Colts, that there was going to be a hole there and they were going to be vulnerable. And Phillip Rivers, sure enough, was under duress, throwing the ball before he needed to, ahead of schedule, and threw up a couple ducks. And that's the end result. Is Phillip Rivers gives you Phillip Rivers numbers when he plays against a defense that's that stout up front.
Agreed. Jonathan Taylor, the only bright spot on the Colts offense. Even T.Y. Hilton not breaking 70 yards through the air, and we kind of predicted that going up against Denzel Ward.
Yeah, shut down corner lining up on that side, and he made his life a living hell the whole game. Like, he was all over him. And he was, 6 catches for 69 is nothing. A ball guy, like, if it's in your flex, you'll take those points. But where you drafted T.Y. Hilton, you were thinking you were going to get a little bit more than that, and this wasn't the game for him to be able to do it.
Okay, and now moving forward to it was the last 4:25 game on the slate, and boy, was it a great football matchup for my New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys. It was pretty much a run-heavy game, and we had some bad news happen during this game. Juan, you want to take that? You want to do that one?
It's tragic, Chef, because this is like the reason I play fantasy football and the reason that I play Madden without injuries. I hate to see players get hurt, especially when it's something that gruesome, something that, like, it's life-changing. It really is, because he's going to have some sort of, metal plate or something, or screws or something that he has to live with forever. Like, you're going to have that pain there no matter what. And I know the modern medicine is amazing, and Dak will make a recovery. And that's the main thing that we're hoping for and praying for him, is that he makes that speedy recovery and that he's healthy and he comes back and entertains us again. And he's, Dak, and he's himself. But it's just a shame to have to see it and for him to have to go through it. And I'm sorry for the whole fan base of the Cowboys. Like, I'm not a Cowboys fan, and I just, it's sad to see on every single level for everyone involved, but especially Dak, man.
I agree. And me being a Giants fan and watching this game, and I was just like, I lost my breath because it gave me flashbacks. And some of you guys may not know this if you don't know me, but I had the exact same thing happen to me when I was playing recreational softball about 10 years ago. I had my right ankle go all the way around. Yeah, and it was not pleasant at all. Word did come out that the bone broke the skin, which that did not happen in mine, thank God. So there was a chance for infection. That's why they ran him in late last night, and they had surgery. News reports coming in that he will be out for at least 6 months, and this is scary for Dak. And I'm going to add this in because he is still on a franchise tag and he has 1 year left of his contract. So they could tag him again next year, based on going forward and his health. And this will limit him. Like you mentioned earlier. Yes, he will have to have a plate. He will have screws, knowing from experience that you can have that plate and screws after 6 months taken out. Which is nice, and he most likely most athletes do get that plate and screw combo removed. But yeah, it's going to be a lengthy recovery for Dak, but he should be good to go when he does finish all that. So hopes and prayers for Dak Prescott and all you Cowboy fans out there. Obviously, moving forward now with Andy Dalton, the Red Rifle, coming back to his home state. We joked about this in the offseason about how Andy Dalton going back to Dallas. Like, are you serious as a backup? But it seems to be that every team loves their backup quarterback so much because he is the guy that is always joking around. And Andy Dalton, not too bad. 9 for 111 through the air. He did carry the ball once, and on that one carry, he fumbled it, I believe.
Well, he shouldn't be running around with the ball. That's for sure. But he looked good through the air. 9 out of 11. He hit Michael Gallup late in the game, and you start to wonder. My question for the narrative going forward is, who has he been getting more reps with? Because they get very little reps, the backup. So who has he been working with on the side? Maybe the guy that's struggling. And I feel like this is a Michael Gallup opportunity to get back in the good graces of the offense and kind of get into those shares where you're seeing CeeDee Lamb and Cooper getting a lot more targets than Gallup lately. And I feel like he went to him late in the game, and there might be a little chemistry there. I'm interested to see what happens there.
It may have been matchup related as well. Amari Cooper was getting pretty well covered by Bradbury through this game. He really didn't put up a really good matchup. He only had 2 receptions for 23 yards. And Michael Gallup, like you said, he went 4 for 73, late catches.
All late, yeah.
I think this helps, and to your point, Juan, I think this helps Michael Gallup, the perimeter field stretcher, the go route guy in that wide receiving core, and CeeDee Lamb in the slot. Reason being, recent bias would tell us that AJ Green and Tyler Boyd worked out perfectly, and those were the hitting points for Andy Dalton when he threw the ball in Cincinnati.
You're absolutely right. That Tyler Boyd comp, I love it. And CeeDee Lamb has even more explosiveness and physical ability than Tyler Boyd, but he's been over 5 catches and 50 yards every game this year, and he just broke out for 8 catches for 124 in this game. CeeDee Lamb going forward, I don't even think you can sit him anymore. It's not even a question if he's a wide receiver 3 or what, but I think, especially with Dalton coming in, like CeeDee Lamb's a guy you want to own right now and start.
Yeah, there's one week where you don't want to start him, and that's week 10, and they're on a bye week. That's about it.
I like that. I like that.
All right, on the Giants side of the ball,
signs of life, Chef.
Signs of life and signs of worrisomeness from Daniel Jones. 20 completions on 33 attempts, 222 yards. He did make a 2-point conversion, but no touchdowns. That was very unfortunate. There were a couple things called back. Slayton got a touchdown called back. I believe it was the third quarter. And Daniel Jones once again turns over the ball on a fumble. Man, it's just sad to see. Danny Dimes was supposed to be this guy that you could most likely be a streamer this year. And even against a team like the Cowboys, we expected a heavier dose of fantasy production, and he just did not equate to what we hoped.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame because I thought it was going to be a big him and Evan Ingram game, and Evan Ingram only had the 1 catch for 16 yards. But you saw Darius Slayton, man, your boy, like 8 catches for 129. Like, that's a monster game out of him. And you like to see that going forward. Yes, it's against Dallas, who gives up passing yards to everyone, but I still felt like the offense moved a little bit better, Chef. I'm not as disappointed in the Daniel Jones, and I'll keep trying to stream him going forward. I'm still not ready to completely quit on Daniel Jones.
The 3 bright spots were Devonta Freeman, who I said was not a bad start if you needed a flex option or if you caught the running back bug this year. He turned out okay. 16.7 fantasy points on the day, 17 carries for 60 yards, and he got in the end zone, caught the ball twice for 27 yards. And then Darius Slayton. He is a real thing. The tilt is definitely real for Darius Slayton, and it is tilting in the right direction.
Chef loves
8 receptions on 129 yards. This is my guy. This is your guy. We praised him in the offseason, and we see him starting to come alive. And then Evan Ingram, he bailed you out with a touchdown late in this game, but he should have gotten in the end zone twice. I thought he did because he got in the end zone with the run, the wrap around that he did, and then he should have gotten in the end zone with the reception as well. So you missed out on 1 touchdown, which would have skyrocketed him into the top 5 at the position this week.
Yeah, that was a bad call, like a bad break on that offensive lineman, that he moved a little bit and he wasn't in the right position, and they called that back. But you saw the speed, the burst on that reverse, and I was really impressed with that. I'm like, okay, he's fully healthy right now. There's no more health excuse. Now this is just a scheme, get him open, find him excuse. And they have to be able to get that right because his talent's undeniable, and he's another one that should still have a really good season going forward. I'll be mind blown to see him have a continue to not find success.
Okay. I don't think I have anything else to say about this one. The Dallas, they squeezed out a win right at the end of this matchup, and the Giants, man, were 0-5. Cowboys move to first place in the division on that note at 2-3. Wow, 2-3. They're definitely the
Division lead.
NFC least. But moving across country to the NFC West, and apparently the NFC West has a best. The Seattle Seahawks squeak by the Minnesota Vikings in a matchup that we saw the tables turn right at halftime. Dalvin Cook seemed like he was going to rule this game. 17 carries for 65 yards and a touchdown, 5 for 5 in the receiving game for 24 yards. And that was in the first half. He's put up 19.9 fantasy points in the first half. And I'm like, oh, yes, I was calling his name. My living room, my wife was just, she had the headphones on, the earmuffs on, man, because I was just so ecstatic about the outcome that I saw Dalvin Cook in the first half. And I'm like, oh, yeah, here we go. Second half of football. It's Dalvin Cook's day. He was probably going to have a career day. And unfortunately, he hurt his groin on the first play of the third quarter.
And it's a shame, Chef, because you're absolutely right. Given that Alexander Mattison came in and ran 20 times for 112 yards. Now, if you would have combined those, that's 177. Last week, I think he had 181, Dalvin Cook. So, he's right on pace, you know what I mean, to have a monster breakout kind of game. And he came into the game leading the league in rushing. He had 424 yards rushing through 4 games. If he stays on the field, I feel like you're right, man. And he would have had one of those blow up, lineup makers, week winning performances. And they probably win the game. They probably hold on and win the game.
Yeah, we saw the tempo of the game switch over to the Seahawks side of the ball once Dalvin Cook was out. Madison did a good job as a fill-in, but he is a fill-in. Probably the most added waiver wire guy for the next couple of weeks. I'm looking at their schedule now. They play Atlanta next week, so
Oof.
you want Madison as a fill-in going for that. And we told you this on last Wednesday's show. Go out and get Alexander Mattison. Why in the world was he not owned?
Right.
I think his ownership was at 44.4% or something in the high 40s, under that 50% marker that we usually talk about. He's definitely going to be owned after waivers run this week.
100%, regardless of the health of Dalvin Cook. When a team is that committed to the run, and either way you're going to run it 35 times, that's a better split than a Mark Ingram and J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards in Baltimore, or than the L.A. split, 3-way split. Madison has better value, especially given now that maybe, the groin is a little bit flared up and they might want to take it easy with Cook. So own Madison 100%. Go get him.
Yeah. And then Adam Thielen, and we'll move to the receiving side of the Vikings. Kirk Cousins, number one, did not look comfortable. The Seahawks switched up their defense halfway through, knowing that Dalvin Cook was out, and they started to put a little bit more pressure on the receivers, and it stunted Kirk Cousins. He finishes with 27 completions for 249s and 2 touchdowns, but he had an interception and he fumbled, and those turnovers were vital. Thielen really didn't come alive until the end of the fourth quarter. He finishes the day with 9 receptions on 13 targets for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns, kept them in the game. But I think it was that decision at the end, right, where they decided to go for it or something. What happened?
Yeah.
I forget.
So it's 4th and inches, and they're up 26-21, and it's time for them to decide what they want to do. And if they want to kick and go up by 8, where Russ can only come back and tie with the 2-point conversion. And instead they decided to go for it and put the game away and let Madison run for the inches or the 1 yard. The problem is Madison isn't Dalvin Cook. He's not that adept at running it for short yardage, where a shift to the left or a shift to the right. Actually, there was a huge hole to the right where Dalvin Cook probably scores. But even a little slide shift to where you just dive forward and get the first down, I think Dalvin Cook would have been able to pull that move off. And that's what I said, the difference, that they might have won the game if Dalvin Cook was still in. Based on just that one play, that 1 yard, that 1/2 a yard, I think he gets it for them. But I don't know how you don't kick there and go up by 8.
Yeah, I think that was a choice that's going to haunt him for a little bit.
Yeah.
And It's just a shame. It's just a shame. But on the other side of the ball, the real magic happened in the last quarter for the Seahawks. Russell Wilson, he started cooking, and when he cooks, you watch out. Only 20 completions for 217 yards, but 3 touchdowns. Also carried it 5 times for 58 yards on the ground. DK Metcalf, the big winner here on Sunday night prime time. 6 receptions for 93 yards and 2 touchdowns. Can you say boss?
Boss, that's what he is. I mean, what a specimen, dude. And 3 of those catches were in the fourth quarter in that last drive going down to win the game. The deep one was a majestic ball just thrown up by Russ, and he just said, go make a play, big man. And he went and did it. Then he got open on his slant on the right-hand side where he just whooped his man and got open and catches the ball and gets down in close. And then he had one where he caught the touchdown, Chef, and he was falling out of bounds, and he got the ball knocked out a little bit. And he had to make up for it. And on the very next play, he ran that route like he wanted it, Chef. He came across that middle, and he just gave him a target, Russ, and Russ scrambled a little bit to the right, and it was a beautiful play to win the game.
Yeah, and I was pretty surprised that the Vikings played good pass defense in the beginning of the game. They were ranked 29th overall, giving up 31 fantasy points on average. And we saw Tyler Lockett struggle against them, but DK Metcalf, man, he opened it wide open in that fourth quarter. And it you know what? They fought for it. It was a rainy game. So we didn't expect to see too much passing, but at the end, man, they opened it up for Russ. He cooked, and they won the game.
Yeah, man, hard-fought game, and it's tough to see somebody lose, but again, it's their own fault. You go up by 8, and then Russ has to score and get a 2-point conversion to tie you, and then you play overtime, so.
Okay. Now for the main event.
The
Monday night showdown. For those of you that are living under a rock, the Denver and New England game should have been going on right now, but that is postponed, and I'm sure you already know that. I believe it's postponed. When are they playing that game? Are they playing it next Monday? No.
I don't Sunday. Remember. It's supposed to
be
next
playing it Sunday. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, good.
I believe so, but it's in flux. The whole schedule is going to be changing in the next couple of days. There might be even more changes. Stay tuned, but it's all up for grabs right now.
Yeah.
What we do know is, we have one game.
Yeah, tonight. What we do know is there's a game tonight, right?
Right.
The LA Chargers going up against the New Orleans Saints. Chargers are 1-3, battling with their rookie quarterback Justin Herbert against a veteran future Hall of Famer Drew Brees. The Saints are 2-2 on the season, but Drew Brees in prime time, man, he kind of knows how to handle things. And where do you want to start with this one, Juan?
I mean, you could take it right to the rookie and just start there and start with whether or not there's hype or hope of revolving Justin Herbert. He's been announced a starter. He's been given the reins, 3 straight games with 300 yards passing, and he's gone up against the likes of Tom Brady already. And Patrick Mahomes. So can he stand up to Brees? And is there hype for him to be a top 15 type quarterback, top 12 type quarterback week to week going forward?
Going forward, I guess this is the real true test here. I want to say yes. I'm just looking at the schedule ahead of tonight. Or beyond tonight. I mean, they play the Jets, they play Miami, they play Jacksonville, and then they play Las Vegas, who we saw can give up some points by the boatload on most games. So, yeah, I believe so. I think Justin Herbert, he's been pretty accurate with his passing. Last week against Tampa Bay, 20 on 25 attempts, 20 completions on 25 attempts for 290 and 3 touchdowns. 1 interception, yeah, but hey, he's got less turnovers than Daniel Jones does right now. I would rather have Justin Herbert on my roster than DJ, that's for sure.
Or Carson Wentz.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thanks for rubbing that in.
Sorry, I forgot you owned him in the league.
I own them both in Dynasty, and I passed on Herbert in the rookie draft. Yeah, so great. In a Superflex, no less.
You live and you learn, Chef. You live and you learn. But yeah, we're going to learn. We're going to learn tonight whether or not he's going to be able to produce and play at a high level on the bright lights, Monday Night Football in the dome against Brees. Like, it's high pressure. You don't have Eckler. There's questions in the backfield. Is it Joshua Kelly? Is it Justin Jackson? That's another great question too. Who's the guy you're trusting this week, or is this the audition?
This is the the audition, and you're right. I like how you put that, the audition for Joshua Kelly. I think Joshua Kelly leads the. I think he gets the start. He is listed as the starter. I think Justin Jackson will be used mainly in the passing game, and I think it's going to be more of a 60-40 split. And I'm interested to see what Kelly can do here, because we've seen some other running backs have a little success against New Orleans, but New Orleans is banged up in the secondary. So I think the Chargers try to air the ball out more often than not.
It's interesting, Chef. I think if Mike Williams plays and he's right, I think that's going to be a great addition to that offense, and it's going to allow them to open it up a little more. And I think Henry's going to do some work too. We talked about it a little bit off air, and how weak the Saints are against the tight end.
Yeah, Mike Williams still listed as questionable with that hamstring, but I think he's trending in the right direction, and I believe he plays tonight.
Wow. I think that opens up the offense even more, Chef.
Yeah, I think we could see some back and forth here, and probably see some high points in this game.
I like that. I don't have the line for. Oh yeah, actually we do have the line. It's 50.5 is the over under, and it's a 7.5 point favorite for New Orleans. I think the Chargers keep this game closer than that.
Yeah, I would take the Chargers and the over.
Over, right? Yeah, 27-24, 31-28, 31-24, like something along those lines, and you cover.
31-28 sounds about right. 31-27, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I like that. And that means that Herbert showed out. That means that your guys Hunter Henry is a definite smash play. Somebody you're playing this week, especially against the Saints, who allow the second most catches.
Second most catches to the tight end position. They are ranked 31st in fantasy points allowed, 16.3 on the year thus far. And yeah, Hunter Henry, I think he's that security blanket if Justin Jackson doesn't work out in the passing game, or Josh Kelly doesn't work out in the passing game. You're going to see Hunter Henry get a couple more targets. So if you waited till Monday night for your tight end to play your tight end, if you're one of those Hunter Henry owners, yeah, feel confident going into Monday night with Hunter Henry on your roster.
I dig it. Yeah, you made the right decision. If you started him over any of the guys that dudded yesterday, like Evan Ingram or someone else, and you decided to keep Schultz, or Dalton Schultz, and you decided to go Henry, this was a good pivot. It worked out for you.
Yeah, and the obvious character of Keenan Allen, he's going to have a great day.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, without a doubt.
It doesn't even matter who they line up against him. He's just going to eat.
Right. Now, on the other side of the ball, the Chargers give up the pass pretty well, but running the ball seems to be the harder task. So Alvin Kamara, and I'll mention Latavius Murray in this because we've seen some production from Latavius Murray over the past couple weeks. Do we see them successfully run the ball against that Chargers defense?
That's going to be the true test, Chef. And I know that Latavius Murray's had more than 10 carries in 3 of the last 4 games, but against that team, it might feel like it's stubborn carries. If they're really stifling them and holding them down, they might be better off the way they played against the Raiders, the Saints, where they were dumping it to Kamara and just abusing Kamara in the passing game and just throw it to him 10, 12, 15 times. And then make Kenneth Murray, the rookie linebacker, make him cover. Make him have to cover Alvin Kamara in space. You don't have Derwin James that you could have brought down in the box to be able to handle Kamara, and make him have to beat him. And I think that's probably going to be what the Saints try to deploy is the passing it to Kamara and having him run more routes. Right.
I agree. I totally agree. Especially with Michael Thomas being out in this one, mm-hmm. They're going to have the same recipe that they've been trying to pull off week to week. And with that being said, Michael Thomas out on this game. Who do you think is the go-to receiver in this one? Is it Emmanuel Sanders? Do they have to stretch the field a little bit more against LA, or is it Traquan Smith in the slot?
I think it's Traquan. I don't think you're going to be able to expose the one side. It's Casey Hayward's probably going to get the Emmanuel Sanders side of the ball. So if he's on Emmanuel Sanders, whoever faces Casey Hayward's usually done for the day. So I would say Traquan Smith has a little bit of success on the other side. And I'm not sure about Jared Cook if he's playing or not, Chef. He was on the questionable list, or is he playing?
I believe he is playing. I'm hearing words that he is a go, but it's not official yet. The official won't come out until about usually around 6 o'clock, I guess. I don't know. With these new time changes, I don't know.
Probably about
8:15. So probably around
6:45.
6:45, the latest.
Yeah, so that's something to keep an eye on because he might be somebody you can start to, or you're wavering, and you might want to pick him up or something last minute and put him in if he's playing. But he's probably owned too, so I don't love Jared Cook, but he's an outlet for the offense because Breeze is going to need all the help he can get to keep up with Herbert and the Chargers offense.
Yeah, and he's a little banged up, but yeah, I mean, if you have to, and it's slim pickings, especially with the extra people out, Denver and New England not playing. You really weren't playing a tight end from New England, but on the Denver side of the ball, the Noah Fant owner may have pivoted to Jared Cook, or you might have picked up 2 tight ends. And yeah, I think Jared Cook could be a sneaky play this week at the tight end position. I don't like him as much as Hunter Henry.
No,
but,
never. No.
Yeah, like we've seen him in the past have those games where he just pops up out of nowhere and turns out to be, one of Drew Brees' favorite targets in a game. We've yet to see it this year, but hey, you never know. That's why we play the game, baby.
Especially down in the red zone.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Anything else for this Monday night matchup? We're going to move on to our historical Tuesday night matchup if that's the case.
Yes, sir. Let's move on. First time ever, Chef, making history.
Wow, we are making history here on Tuesday night. We get to see the Buffalo Bills 4-0 at the 3-0 Tennessee Titans after a wallop of 2020. We're sticking with that. It's 2020. It's not the C word.
It's 2020.
Yeah, 2020 hit the Titans pretty hard over the past 2 weeks. Some listed notable outs for this game due to 2020 is Corey Davis, Adam Humphries. Those are the 2 main fantasy contributors that are going to be out for this game due to 2020. And on the Bills side, the injuries are John Brown. We still don't know if he's going to play. He did pop up on the injury report late on Saturday with a knee injury added to the calf injury that he already had. And A.J. Brown is expected as a full participant on Saturday. He is a go. Zach Moss with a toe injury. I think Zach Moss is a go as well. So there's going to be a lot of things going on in this game that we're looking for. And Juan, what are a couple of the things that you're looking for on the fantasy side of things?
Yeah, I'm looking if my number one concern is I'm being selfish here, but Jonnu. I want to see if Jonnu Smith can continue to perform the way he has been. He was the tight end 2 going into all this bias situation and the 2020 stuff that's happened to the Titans. And he's going up against a really good set of linebackers and cover safeties. So Micah Hyde and Poyer are really good back at the secondary level. And then Milano and Edmonds are really good at the linebacker spots. Now Milano's not playing and Edmonds feels like he's a little slow. So I want to see if Edmonds can continue to do what he's doing. And are they more fresh because of this 2 weeks of rest? And are they going to come out and be able to smack the Bills in the mouth, who've been in a couple of fist fights the last few weeks, to be able to maintain that 4-0 record? So this is a true test. And I want to see Josh Allen going forward too. Is he for real an MVP candidate, or now when he's facing more staunch competition, is he going to be able to maintain the level?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a back and forth kind of game. The Titans, due to 2020, have lost a couple of those defensive pieces and some receiving options, which don't help them. But Derrick Henry, strong. Buffalo, 10th against the running backs in fantasy football. And to answer your question about Jonnu Smith, as long as the receiving targets are available, he is going to be very fantasy viable. We saw the Rams, who utilized the tight end a ton, tear apart the Bills. And I think Jonnu Smith on Tuesday night for a Tuesday night special, he's going to have another big game.
Yeah, I think he will too. And in that same game that you referenced right there, Chef, the Rams game, Darrell Henderson had 114 yards rushing against them as well, against the Bills, and he was able to gash them. So maybe there is some success for Derrick Henry. And that game, I think, is a lot closer than what everybody thinks. And I think it's going to be a tighter game than expected. I don't think the Bills are this runaway juggernaut just yet.
No, I think due to the holes that they have on defense, it slows them down a little bit. And like you mentioned, Trey White is still out, and Milano is out. So those are big holes and key players on their defensive side of the ball that will open up things and continue to open up things until they get them patched up. But I don't see the Titans winning this game. I see the Bills. I see the Bills rolling strong and taking that 5-0 leap.
I think the way Kansas City fell, the way Seattle almost fell, both at home, the Bills have to go on the road to a rested Tennessee team with an axe to grind and kind of a point to prove that they're good and that they belong. I feel like the Titans win that game tomorrow.
Oh, well, that's one way to look at it. The other way I look at it is, and the reason being, like you're saying that the Titans are rested and all that, they're rested, but they really didn't have any practices, on-field practices.
That's true too.
So the Bills have the slight advantage on that sense that they are still in playing shape. We don't know how A.J. Brown's going to come off of this knee injury that he was dealing with.
That's true too.
As an A.J. Brown owner in a couple of leagues, I hope he's okay, and I hope he's 100% finally. But I think the Bills do have an advantage here because they have all their offensive pieces minus John Brown, who is Gabriel Davis is a nice fill-in player. If John Brown doesn't, if you have John Brown on your team and you had no other option, Gabriel Davis might be available, quick pickup to fill that void. But yeah, I think the Bills are on track. They've been running strong. They get Zach Moss back, which hurts Singletary's value, but we said that he would going forward. I think they are the more complete team compared to the Tennessee Titans. I think the Titans struggle to stretch the field, even with A.J. Brown there. And I think it's going to be close, but I think the Buffalo Bills take this one.
All right, so they're going to hold on.
And we didn't have a spread for this game. There was no spread.
No. There might be one at this point, but we don't have one yet, no.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find one real fast. You can talk for a second.
Yeah. So I'm excited to watch football on a Tuesday, man. 5:00. It's happy hour somewhere. It's happy hour everywhere, really, at 5:00. So, it's a bonus, and we only have one day without football this week. That's Wednesday. So, as far as the weekdays, and it's exciting to be able to have this much football. I wish they played every day. Maybe they should do that, some kind of a rotating schedule, so it's like every 8-10 days.
We do have a line. The line is Buffalo giving 3.5 points. And the over-under is 53.
Titans and the under, yeah.
Titans and the under. Oof. Yeah, that's a close one. That is a close one. Yeah, it's gonna be close. It's gonna be one of those nail biters. I think similar. I think it's similar to the Bills and the Rams. That game.
Yeah,
that we saw.
Yeah, so that big. Yeah, that big comeback type of. Yeah, week 3.
Week 3 when Buffalo won 35-32 on a bad call at the end of the game.
Yeah, and it goes over. You think the same way, high scoring?
Yeah, I think it goes over 53. I think maybe, I don't know, because Ryan Tannehill, they're going to try to run the ball as much as possible, and if they're successful running the ball, it may not be as high scoring. Yeah, but on the other side,
27-24 is under. You know what I mean?
27-24 is under. Oof.
And maybe I like that score.
24. That's a rough one, man. That over under, man. I would stay away from the over under, and hey, man, I want to stay away from this game in complete because there's so many question marks.
Yeah.
Involving these two teams with the in and outs, especially on the Tennessee Titans side of the ball. So yeah, I'm playing reserve, man, and I'm keeping my money in my account this week on all those betting apps. I'm not giving any gambling advice on this big question mark of a Tuesday night historical event.
Yeah, I would leave that alone too, Chef. All right, before we go, Chef, real quick, Bill Schneider, our boy, we love you.
Yeah,
we're glad you're doing better, my man.
Yeah. What's up, Bob? And I'm sorry, Bill. I know it came on earlier today, and it was almost about 40 minutes ago that he wrote that in there. I reached out to Bill. One of our friends caught that 2020 bug, as we like to call it, and unfortunately, he wasn't doing too well but it's good to see him writing us on Facebook right now. And shout out to Bill Schneider, man. We appreciate you. We love you, brother.
It's funny, Chef, the way we're treating this thing and we're saying 2020, it's almost like it's Beetlejuice. You can't say it more than once. You can't try to say it 3 times.
Oh, man, I'm done with the C word, man. I'm done with it. I love it. I'm done with all C words.
2020, we're going to call it.
Yeah, it's like the 2020 version, Even though it was born in 19, it's killing us in 2020.
You got that dub.
Yeah. All right. Well, on behalf of the Tilt Israel crew, I am your host, the FF_chef, James, and my co-host and counterpart, as always, the real FF, one of a kind himself, Mr. Juan Carlos Pena. We'll check you out on Wednesday. Enjoy the Monday night and Tuesday night games. We're going to wrap it up. Anything else to say for those people out there, Juan?
Nah, man, keep tuning in. Thank you for listening. Thank you for coming in with us with your tilts, and we'll see you on Wednesday and get you ready for next week. We got to keep it rolling.
Right on. All right, guys, enjoy the games. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Tilt Israel Fantasy Podcast. Check out our website at thetiltisreal.com for weekly articles, breakdowns, and more. Follow us on Twitter at TIR_pod. We'll see you Tilters next week.